I used to think running was for people who just loved cardio, and I never realized that as I became this ambitious founder, running would become one of those few places that I could find that mental peace and stillness. There's a saying that I really like, and I kind of just want to sit with for a second, and that is how you do one thing is how you do everything. This is kind of how I want to bridge running with business to make it make sense for everyone. So, like, if you can't manage your pace for a half marathon, like, you can't manage it halfway in at mile 6, that translates very similarly to how you're probably going to handle the pacing of your business throughout the year. And when you hit Q4 and things move and get faster, are you going to be able to hold the pace, or are you going to be burning out as you taper towards the end of the year? It's pure mental conditioning. That's what running is, and that's what it has been for me. And it's also had incredible physical and mental benefits as well, but it's also been really, really good mental conditioning. What I found at least, the absolute hardest part about building a business actually doesn't have anything to do with strategy, because strategy you can just keep iterating on, right? You can keep changing it as you go. But you got to have the stamina to outwork everybody else, but also understand where your limits lie. So yes, you need the stamina, but you also need the realism instilled within yourself to know when it's time to, take a break and rest. And so without even realizing it, I've been running since 2021. I've had the business since 2018, and the business has experienced the most growth since 2021. Things changed. So for that reason, sometimes I consider runs my most productive meeting of the week, because it's kind of a meeting with myself, and it's not the typical meeting that we're thinking of. Running creates a controlled environment where I can practice grit, pacing, and data analysis. And all three of those skills are required to grow this company that I've been envisioning since I was a very young girl. So here are 4 lessons I've learned while on my running journey that I apply to business. Let's talk through lesson 1 while I get ready to go to run club. And I know I look rough. Hold on, I'm gonna go get changed and I'll be right back. All right, let's talk about overstriding. So in running, when you overstride, it's like one of the most common ways you can injure yourself. Also, if you have a slow cadence, or like your feet are kind of dragging, it's one of the quickest ways to waste energy and kind of burn out in your run by like the end of mile 1 before you're really even into it. I love the 180 beats per minute playlist because it helps me keep that even tempo, that good form, not that, whatever that was. Go do good shoes, and then also studying good run form and then practicing that. So in business, how does this lesson translate to my business? How do you hit that 180 beats per minute sweet spot like you can in running? It's with a good foundation and good form, which literally shouldn't surprise anybody. Don't mind my cat eating. That good form, that 180 beats per minute, is essentially process optimization in business, because we don't want to be spending our time and our energy on something that's really not going to give us any return or help us finish the race strong, right? Or help us win the race. And we don't want to understride. We don't want to, end up having something bite us in the butt that we just weren't prioritizing enough. We didn't make it enough of a priority, and now we're paying for it. Consistency in systems is how you hit that 180 beats per minute cadence. Let's now talk about the second lesson I've learned while running. And the absolute bane of my entire existence is the threshold run. But the run that's also led me to PR whenever I've PR'd is the threshold run. If I prioritize that in training, I always perform better when I race. A threshold run is where you keep a pace that's like pretty quick, so you should definitely be exerting yourself, but you shouldn't be wheezing. So you're kind of like right at your threshold, if that makes sense, hence the name. If you cross into that red heart rate, you're gonna burn out really fast. You're not gonna be able to sustain the pace. Threshold runs are painful and highly uncomfortable, but growth is also uncomfortable. So like you have to take that in stride, right? However, unsustainable discomfort just leads to burnout, and the same is true in business. So like, yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable as a business owner, especially as a female business owner, and you need to get comfortable with that discomfort. But if you push yourself beyond your threshold in a way that's unsustainable, that is just a recipe for burnout. You're not actually being productive in your business anymore. Running, you have to know what your threshold pace is so you can hold that and have an effective workout. Same in business. You need to understand where that line is for yourself and what it looks like when you cross that line. Basically, the question is, how hard can you push your business before it breaks? Let's talk about splits now. So this is your pace per mile. You'll hear a lot of runners be like, what was your split? When you're racing, you're paying attention to your splits because you're trying to pace. If you're trying to set a PR or you're trying to hit a certain threshold, you're constantly probably checking your watch and paying attention to what your splits are. You're looking at that over the totality of your mileage. And you're specifically paying attention to your current split, the one that you're in. Are you underpacing? Are you overpacing? Running forces you to be extremely present. High achieving women often get overwhelmed with this 10-year vision that everybody pushes on us. You know, we do the journaling, we do the visualization, we have that 10-year vision, but it also overwhelms us because it's so far away and there's so many obstacles, so many walls that we need to break through to get to that vision. Running teaches you to focus on kind of the micro KPIs, if you will, the present moment, what hill, what mountain you're currently climbing. And you got to win the mile that you're in first. You know, you got to win mile 6 in order to win the half marathon, right? You can't just be trying to skip ahead while you're in mile 6 and win mile 10. You can do things to proactively prepare for mile 10. Like in running, you might, fuel, take some nutrition, take some water, take some Gatorade to prep yourself for mile 10, but you're focused on winning mile 6. This is why I love posting these on Saturdays so you can watch them on Sundays, because Sunday is really your time to review the splits of your last week in the business and make sure that you are setting the right pace for yourself and that there's no adjustments that need to be made. The final lesson I've learned while being a runner that I've applied to business is that equipment and infrastructure are two of the most overlooked components of the sport. You could go run in the shoes that you've worn since college, but you're going to end up with shin splints or joint pain or some type of issue down the road. In business, this is kind of your tech stack. It's all the things that are helping your business move forward. Ambitious founders, especially females, like when we're just starting out, we're scrappy. So we're just kind of trying to use some elbow grease and muscle our way through the manual tasks. When we could just be investing in the right technology that helps us do our job better and reach our goals faster, maintain that pace in an easier way. Win the mile, win the race. It's the same thing as running a half marathon barefoot. Like if you saw somebody doing that, you'd be like, why are you doing that? And when you're growing a company, if you invest in the right revenue operation systems, you protect your energy, you protect your time, and you protect your money in the business. Running isn't about the miles, it's about the discipline of the data and the resilience of the mind. So as you prep for this week, I challenge you to identify one area where you're overstriding. Is it your sales process or your content calendar? Focus on simplifying the cadence. I hope this helped, and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel to get notified of next week's video.